leads. Like I don't care what the product is. If somebody fills out a form of some kind of interest and then you go to their kitchen table, how can you not sell something?
Today's guest on True Talk is Josh Lockhart. Josh talks about his insane journey through 17 years as an independent contractor, and so far through October has already sold $300,000 this year.
$10 bill.
Yeah.
My last one.
For a personality test.
And I open it up, I unvelcro it. You know what I mean? And I was like, this is all I got. And she goes, that'll do. And it was like she ripped my heart out of my chest. That was my food for the week. From
sleeping in his car, from donating plasma to pay his bills, Josh is now one of the top agents and has doubled his income every year since starting with FFL. What's up, dude?
What, Mike, man, what's up? I'm glad to be here. I'm glad
it's like we did a whole podcast before we even hit record almost.
Yeah.
If you guys could have been here for that was great. But
Heck yeah, man.
We'll do our best right now.
That's right.
But you've been with us how long now, Josh?
About, I'm going to say 3.5.
3.5 years. So I was looking at your background. Your background's like 18 pages.
Yeah, I got the gray on the beard.
Yeah.
You know, I'm used to being the young guy in the room, and then you look up one day.
Yeah.
And you're not anymore.
It happens, dude.
Yeah.
It does. You've been an independent contractor for 17 years, is that true?
Yeah, that's right.
How'd you first get into the independent space?
Okay, so I was after college, dropped out of college.
Okay.
We could talk about my
What'd you go to college for?
Everything. Psychology, engineering. I was going to be a nurse. What was it? Nuclear medicine for a minute, and then business. Really, what I wanted, I wanted to be in business.
Okay.
Didn't know what that meant. And I'm in school now. It's not to get off on a tangent. I think college for some can be good.
Sure.
I felt like it was a complete scam.
Yeah.
I was completely broke. Like you ever get together and you tell like broke stories, like who's the broke? I usually win. Okay. You know, when you're driving in Michigan, it's 0 degrees and you got to hold shut your driver's side door so it doesn't fling open. You fall out of the highway. Like, you know, it's a problem. Driving a Cadillac 83 Coupe de Ville. Yeah. You know, and so I'm in college and my professors have more debt than I do, telling me how to live. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. And my parents were like, you got to go to college. I'm like, what am I going to do there? They're like, I don't know. You're going to figure it out. So I'm like, I got to pay for this? I got to pay? Okay. Anyway.
What year did you drop out?
06.
Okay.
06. I graduated high school in 02, wrestled in college. I really wanted to wrestle in college, did that, and then I'm in there trying to figure it out. And I remember the day my dad goes, well, go and take one of these personality tests, and they're going to tell you what you want to do with your life. And I was like, okay, I'll go see the Oracle on the mountain. And I go there, and I go in the office and they're like, yeah, it's going to be $20. And I was like, $20. I'm like, it might as well have been 20,000.
Wow.
So I don't got $20. And she goes, well, how much you got? And I opened my wallet and there was this crumpled up $10 bill.
Yeah.
My last one.
For a personality test.
And I open it up, I unvelcro it. You know what I mean? And I was like, this is all I got. And she goes, that'll do. And it was like she ripped my heart out of my chest. That was my food for the week.
Yeah.
You know, I have track marks because I gave plasma for money.
Yeah.
And so I go in and I do that. And thinking back, it was right. So kudos to them. And it was like, I take this long test and it was like, oh, you should probably do sales. You like people. And I'm like, what a freaking waste of time. And so, you know, I'm paying for that. And finally I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. And so I drop out. I had a couple of sideways years, had some jobs, personal trainer, this kind of thing. Yeah. Going in debt, just being stupid.
What was the first sales job you had?
Well, so I worked at a video store, like a Blockbuster up in Michigan. It's called Family Video.
Don't get nervous, all you young agents out there. Blockbuster used to go rent videos. We didn't have streaming. You had to like go pay for the video. If you didn't rewind it, you got charged.
Be kind, please rewind. Yeah. And so we had this thing, you like could upsell people when they came to the counter, and I was like sold the most in my district. It wasn't sales; it was just like, hey, do you want a combo and a piece of candy? You know what I mean? And I remember I showed up to the sales meeting hungover, still drunk. I was 20 years ago, okay. And they're like, oh, you won the sales award. And I was like, what do I win? And they're like, high five. You made $17.
Nice.
So a buddy of mine calls me, and he was my youth pastor when I was a kid. And he worked for this insurance company. We had a debit route. You know what that is?
Yeah, where you pick up them.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro. We'll get into that. And he goes, hey, I'm making 6 figures now. You should work for this company. We need somebody in our Grand Rapids, Michigan office. And my dad's like, what do you know about insurance? I was like, nothing. It sounds boring. So the guy calls me, the recruiter in the office, and I'm 22. And I was like, I reluctantly go in. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, insurance, who needs insurance, right? And it was the weirdest matrix of a comp plan you've ever seen. Like, what do you get paid? I don't know. Very little. Like, the most I ever made there was $2,500. I sold like 20 policies. I was number one in the office. A month.
In a month.
So our goal, so it was like a W-2 kind of situation. You were
Yeah.
independent. You do what you want, but technically you were W-2, and you had to come in for a Friday meeting.
Got
right?
it.
And so everything, they give you a debit route. So here's a book of business. You have to go collect Aunt Sally's premium for $12.17 in the worst part of Grand Rapids, right? Like, you know, like one time I rolled up into a house, dude's doing lines on the coffee table.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you get the debit, though?
Yeah.
Okay,
Of course, right? But it was like, hey, it was on the 1st and the 3rd. You got to be there. And if you come past 3 o'clock, I spent it. It's your problem. Insurance man, like, why weren't you here early? You know what I mean? And so, and then the whole pitch was like, call these people, do a review, and then upsell them.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. And I remember now my goal for AP per week was $1,200.
Wow.
Now, yeah. And so I remember I did what they told me to do.
Yeah.
And that was the one we were talking earlier. You know, they're going to have health insurance. I'm like, oh, I'm an adult. I'm going to have health insurance.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, I'm somebody, you know.
Yeah, you're growing up now.
Yeah, like my family, a bunch of GM workers, right? Like benefits are important.
Yeah.
And so I was making $8 an hour at the video store. So I'm like, well, this is better.
Right.
You know what I mean? So let me do this. And I'm a big boy now. And so I interview. They put me another personality test. And the guy goes,
Did you have to pay for this one or no?
Didn't have to pay for this one.
Nice.
And he goes, hey, listen, you know, you're 22. No one's going to take you seriously. You know, we weren't going to hire you. We had somebody else we were going to hire, but like something happened to him. We have to fill the seat. If you can get licensed in the next 30 days, you got the job.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And so then we had to go in person, take a full 40-hour week class, keep doing my job. It was an hour out of town, do all this kind of thing. So I do it, you know, and I failed the test 3 times.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's 22. You know what I mean? Like I'm going out 6 nights a week and kind of living that life. And so that year was like the life-changing year. So I started insurance. I get into simultaneously direct sales that same year, and I met my wife on the same year.
Okay.
And so that was like when I turned 23, I was like, you know, looking back, like that was the year. So I get involved with that company, quickly realized this is going nowhere. Out of 600 agents, I remember the day, they go, hey, we got the number 2 person coming in, and she's gonna, you know, give us the good lead, the Glenn Ross,
God.
you know. And so she comes in, and here's what I do, and she goes to like shows, you know what I mean, like the industry shows and all this kind of things. That's what she does. And she goes, she made $80,000 last year. I was like, 80? Wow. I'm like, that's more than me, but like, that's what I can't do what she does. She's like really, really good. And like, what am I doing here? So what I really wanted to do was go work for a captive. Thank you.
Yes.
I really wanted to go to a captive company and do like the PC multi-line thing. That's what I really wanted to do. And so in that time, one of their top guys reached out to me, and he's like, hey, come work for me. We interviewed, and he's like, you need to do your own thing. So he put me on there. So I quickly transitioned, and that was perfect timing because this was 2008.
Okay.
So you're doing home and auto insurance in 2008.
It's a good time for a little bit.
Yeah. And I go to the guy, and I'm like, they told me the same thing. Hey, you're too young. No one's going to take you seriously. And I'm like, dude, this is rough. And I go, how do I, they put me in a class for 2 weeks. They called career school, taught me all about policies and the coverages and the laws. I'm like, how do I make money, guys? I'm like, get out there. you know?
Get out there.
And so I'm talking to this agent, and he goes, go make friends with all the real estate, mortgage brokers, all these guys, because then they'll pass you business. So I rack up credit cards, taking these guys out to lunch, and they're all telling me, I don't have any business. I'm going out of business.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So that's where I got introduced to cold calling. Okay. So we had quotas. So I'm still independent, but you have a quota. You have a premium, home and auto and life premium quota, and then you have a policy count quota.
Yeah.
So I'm doing good, and I'm ahead on everything except for the life insurance policy count. Fully underwritten, 50% comp, no leads. And so it's
This was straight commission, right?
Straight
no
commission.
Salary, no draw, just straight
commission. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so they go, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I literally start calling out of the phone book. I'd pick a street, go down the list. Hey, Mike, your neighbor, John, I helped them out with their insurance. Love to show you what we do. I'm going to be over at the neighborhood. Can I swing on by? That, I don't know where I came up with that.
Yeah.
And the guy in my office was like, dude, don't you think you're going to get, the do not call list? Aren't you worried about that? I was like, bro, I'm worried about the no job list.
Right.
And so I go and write 20 policies. I need 8 to issue by a certain date.
Okay.
But I wrote 20.
Yep.
7 of them issue. I'm short 1. Appreciate you.
They fired you.
On the spot. Love you.
So wait, let me get this straight. There's no leads.
No leads.
Right. There's no salary.
Nothing.
They've given you nothing. You did everything. You missed this one policy. They're paying you straight commission, so you only get paid when you sell.
Yeah.
They get paid when you sell.
Yeah.
But because you were short by 1 on this quota, they fired you.
That's it. And it was just, they were so nice about it. And I remember the guy in my office, he goes, to this day, man. He goes, you're pretty sharp, Josh. You could probably do good in an inside sales role. I know a company that's hiring. I was like, all right, man, what you got? He goes, I'll put a word in with my boy down at Men's Warehouse. And I was like, you know what I mean? Damn. And to this day, I'm like, okay.
I bet that felt great.
So I was doing like the network marketing direct sales thing, and I was like, I'm just going to go full in on that.
Okay.
And I learned very quickly that I was a terrible self-employed person. Like no structure, no discipline. Got married shortly thereafter, barely paid for the wedding. You know what I mean? Between my wife and I, she had her stuff together, right? She's incredible. She runs our agency. I just work here. People are afraid of her. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when
she's like a boxing champ, right? Like
two-time state champ Gold Glove boxer.
They should be afraid.
Yeah. So the only things I say to her is
what we should do, Josh, is instead of firing people when they don't hit their quota, just have your wife hit them one time.
Bro, people in our agency are like, hey, they'll tell me something. I was like, do you want me to tell Michelle? And they're like, no. No. So my office is downstairs. Hers is upstairs. Yeah. So they'll say something. I was like, you want me to run that up to corporate? And they're like, no. We don't got to do that. We don't got to do that.
We don't have to involve her.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So she had her stuff together, man. Yeah. She had a house. She had a good career. And I'm just like this train wreck trying to figure it out, young guy. Yeah. And so I go on the direct sales thing. And I just remember some of those early conversations when we got married, where it's like she'd come home and be like, hey, why aren't the dishes done? And I'm like, well, I've been working. So it's like learning before any sales tactics, it's like learning how to be self-employed. Yeah. And years go by, and it's funny, we joke about this now, the pre-2015 version of me and the post-2015 version are night and day. Yeah. Because in 2014, at the end of the year, I had my first daughter. Okay. And here it's been a few years where we've scraped by. We're paying our bills just like everybody else, right? You hear the old guy. I'll back up. There was a guy. When I first hired in that first company, he was a lot older than I was. I was 20, he was 40, I am now. Yeah. Old guy. And he had bounced around to a bunch of different companies and never built anything. Yeah. Oh, maybe this IMO is better. Maybe this thing is better. And I saw that, and I was like, I never want to be that guy. So, I was with my direct sales company for 14 years. Just too stubborn to quit because I didn't know any better. Because I was like, I don't want to be that guy. And so anyway, we're scraping by, and I had my first daughter. It's December. And I remember It was raining. I just read Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule. And basically the whole idea is whatever your goals are, set them way bigger, do 3 times more work. It's probably going to be super hard. It's raining, and I got my daughter there, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you can't raise a family on $36,000 a year as a self-employed person with expenses.
Correct.
Like, it's a freaking joke. And I'm like, you either need to, and it's even worse. I got offered a 6-figure job 2 years before that. And I'm like, maybe I should take this. Like, this would put my family in a better situation. I remember talking to my wife, and she goes, and we were talking about it, and she goes, okay, well, that's the entry. Like, what's after that? And it was like 110 if you do this, and 120 if you do that, 130 if you do that. And then basically after that, somebody has to die or get fired.
Right.
And the guy was a friend of mine. He was like the big RVP dude. And he goes, in the interview, he goes, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably go independent and try to make $1 million a year. Wow. I was like, and that was like,
is that why you didn't take it?
I was like, I got to go for it. You know what I mean? And my wife was like, okay, go for it. I believe in you. And so I'm feeling like a big piece. You know what I mean? Like, dude. And so I'm sitting there holding my daughter, December, it's raining, you know, I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I set a goal at that time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out how I can make $100,000 a month. I picked a number. Yeah. It was arbitrary, no reason in the world that I should have that goal. But it was a made up number, you know what I mean? And the first thing it forced me to do is like, okay, what I got to do different? Like, and so the first thing was like, you need to work way harder. And so my wife jokes, she's like, what you thought was hard work, like this version of you is just laugh at that. And so that's when, you know, the 12-hour days, 14-hour days started, you know, all that kind of thing. Which
what was your work schedule like prior to that? How many hours you putting in a day, a week?
Yeah, so like it was 6.5 days a week.
Yeah.
It was direct sales network marketing, so I was cold calling companies to go in and do supplemental benefits, and then calling recruiting network marketing leads to try to recruit people. So I'm still dialing leads, making cold calls, banging the phones all day long, and then driving. We lived in like this super rural town in Virginia where there's like nothing around, and so every appointment was an hour away.
Got it.
So I'm putting 50,000 miles in the car. Yeah. And it was funny. So you set this big goal and you start working way harder, and my income went down. It was just harder. Everything was just harder.
Got it.
You know what I mean? And it was just like barely getting by. And I was talking to my wife recently, and I feel bad because I feel like in the first couple years, in my mind, I missed out on a bunch with my kids because I think what it was is mentally I was just like afraid about money, afraid to pay. You're juggling the things and the credit card bills and all this stuff. And I would just wake up, chain myself to the chair, and then fall asleep, not making money. You know what I mean? And people in that company, basically, they didn't tell me to my face. I learned later. They would hold me up as a reason not to join. They'd be like, Josh works way too hard than everybody, and he's not making it, so I'm not joining.
Damn.
You know, and they like, anyway. And so, and then we would get a little traction. Yeah. And then something would fall apart. And then we'd get a little traction, and a company would make a change, and something would fall apart. And it was just like that for a bunch of years. And, you know, it was rough.
Let's go to 2019.
Yeah.
I was reading this. You earned $19,000.
Yeah.
Wife, 2 kids at this point.
2 kids,
right? So first daughter was born 2014.
Yeah.
Right? And then you had another kid when?
2017.
2017. So 2 girls.
Yep.
2 years later, 19,000.
Yeah. So I started getting some traction. Again, things were on the uptick in 2018. That company had made a change. So, you know, it was direct sales, you build a sales team. I'd gotten it bigger than I was like, dude, we're getting like, our income's creeping up. Yeah. I'm thinking, hey, we might even hit 6 figures this year. The company made a change. They said, hey, we're not paying out bonuses. Overnight, my team, everybody quit.
Wow.
Everybody quit. We had chargebacks. So now,
how many people did you have on your team, roughly?
We probably had 50 people. Okay. We called it a membership. You know.
So you went from the reason why not to join to now almost like, hey, look
working.
what you can do here.
It's happening. It's happening. I'm not crazy. And then, overnight, we're having like 6-7K months.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're gaining there. We're getting somewhere. And I was at least smart enough. I didn't spend a dime of it.
Okay.
And people are like, dude, you're doing good. Like, what are you gonna do with the wife? I was like, dude, nothing.
Right.
Like, we're changing nothing. We lived in a 1,000 square foot apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I didn't get paid for 5 months because even though I'm working every day, all those chargebacks from all the team, the wave after wave is coming, and made 19 grand that year.
Wow.
And I remember we blew through all of our savings, maxed out all of our credit cards. I'm working the entire time. My upline told me, he goes, I don't even know how you get out of bed. And I was like, what? He goes, dude, I see how it's going. You're working every day. And he's like chilling. Yeah. He's just chilling. You know what I mean? He's like, I don't even know how you get out of bed. And that was a blow. Yeah. I was like, dude, I don't need to hear this from you. Yeah. And so then we're already down to one car. Yeah. And then my car, the engine went out. And so I remember walking home from the mechanic's shop, again going, dude, you're in your 30s, you know what I mean? You got 2 kids, wife depending on you. Like what?
Wait, so you brought your car broke down.
Yeah.
You get it to the shop.
Yeah.
Can't get it fixed.
It needs a new engine.
It's a new engine. And you're like, I can't afford that. And you had to walk home from the...
Yeah. Walk home.
What was that walk like?
Yeah. I mean, you just... all the bad negative talk, you're like, because I'm not nice to myself on the inside, you know what I mean? Like all the choice words, like you piece of this, like you got your family into this, they trusted you, they're following you,
and they're waiting at home.
Yeah, and they're waiting at home, and then like as soon as I get home, like you gotta dude, my wife, no nonsense. It's like if I come home and I go, baby, I had a bad day, I didn't sell anything. She's like, why are you home?
Right.
Go out, sell something, then come home. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I go home and go upstairs and I'm calling my list. You know, what else you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I remember the week. So I'm, we had a debit balance, the chargeback balance. I'm seeing it go down, but it's not going down fast enough. Yeah. Bills coming due. And the last 2 weeks, like everything's tapped out. We get a random check from the church for $500, just a little breathing room. I don't know where it came from to this day. Don't know where it came from. You know what I mean? And I've grew up in church, so I'm a believer, but it's like I'm also a man, and I'm like, dude, like you're gonna save yourself. No one's coming to save you. And so when that showed up, I was like, okay, don't be so much like that. And then I remember the last week, I was like, I got to go tell my wife, like, this is it. I don't know what's going to happen. All the coffers are tapped out. We don't have money for rent. And I woke up and the negative balance was gone, and we got our first little $23 commission. I was like, maybe we can make it.
Yeah. Another thing you said here was you had to sleep in your car in Michigan, 10-degree weather to sell employee benefits.
Bro. Okay. So we got leads, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be that guy, but like people that have never not used leads, or maybe FFL is their first gig.
Yeah.
Got it so easy, man. Right. Got it so easy. So, yeah, I mean, I was cold calling companies, trying to get through the gatekeeper and get to the CEO, the decision maker, and this long sales cycle, right? So I might talk to you today, and you're like, yeah, cool, we want to introduce that benefit. Might not happen for 6 months. And so, I mean, all kinds of wild stories, right? So in Michigan, wintertime, below temperatures, this manufacturing company, they're like, yeah, we'll have you come in. Now, we were supposed to do it. I was going to get to see every single employee, and it was like 150 employees. And if we do it that way, I'm like, dude, we're going to crush. Like, I would close like 110 of them. That's going to make my month.
Yeah.
And at the last second, the HR person was like, I don't want to do payroll. I don't like payroll. So you got to collect banking, and we're not going to let you see all the employees. You have to go and sit in the lunchroom at shift change and try to get them.
Oh, God.
And I was like, okay. So now they have 24-hour shifts. So I find myself sleeping in the car in the parking lot with an electric blanket hooked up to the cigarette lighter, trying to get a little sleep. So, wait for shift change. And I go up, 3 o'clock in the morning. These, blue collar guys are like, dude, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I'm here to talk about the benefit. You know what I mean? And basically, I think I broke even on the gas it took me to get there. miserable experience. Another time, had to do, I did a bunch of prison systems in Virginia. So there's like 1,200 people that work at this prison system, and they go, okay, at 5 a.m., they all come through that door right there, and you just catch them. You know what I mean? And these are guards. You know what I mean? They're no-nonsense people.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there, with my little polo on in prison.
Yeah.
And so the second day I go, I need some help. So I go to a buddy of mine. I go, hey, man, you come to the prison, help me do this enrollment. I'll split apps with you. And I said, by the way, just so you know, they're going to have us sign some paperwork. It's a rape clause. And he goes,
what?
He goes, what? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's prison, and that's what it says. And he's like, do we have to worry about that? I was like, I don't think so, but it's in the paperwork. You got to sign a rape clause. So I don't have to do any of that today.
No,
it's awesome. Go FFL.
So let's get to that. How did you find? You're back. You've tried everything, had some success, not down at the bottom, all kinds of shit, right? How did you find Family First Life?
Yeah. So a buddy I used to work with in that direct sales company hits me up one day. He was looking for a job, and the guy I work with now, Jamie Cheerio, like the cereal. Yeah. He sees Jamie, they're buddies on a social media post, an ad or something, issue paid numbers. Yeah. And he hits Jamie up and he goes, hey man, what we're buddies. And
when you say he saw what, 35,000 or something?
Yeah. That's what it was.
Okay.
And he goes, so that's just like sale, what, you get like 10% commission on that? And Jamie's like, no, here's the comp plan, here's what I made, here's the whole deal. Showed him his bank account. And he's like, bro, why do you call me? We come from network marketing. You call the list. He's like, it's not like that. We got leads. Yeah. I don't need you. And he was like, he calls me. He goes, now my buddy, he wouldn't lie to me. Like we're cool like that. Like he wouldn't trump it up. Yeah. He's like, I think he's telling me the truth. And he's like, he was looking for a sales job. And he goes, dude, I don't know anything about insurance or calling leads. You know about both. Do you think I should do this? So he sends me a video, and it was just totally like, look at this and see if I should do it. Now, I already had like a bad taste in my mouth for insurance. Yeah. Everything I just told you.
Right.
I was like, I don't want anything to do with life insurance. Not that I think it's bad, but it's just like low comp.
No, you're judging it off your own experience.
Yeah. And I'm just like, now I'm like, of course there's life insurance leads. You know what I mean? Like I just thought that it exists. And so I watched the video, and this girl had helped like 50 families that month, 21-year-old bartender. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm a grown damn man. You know what I mean? Like I got skills. You know what I mean? I've been grinding, and she's been bartender, and she's 21. I'm like, this is so disrespectful. So I watch another video, and then I'm seeing a video. Sean Mike's like, 5-year plans are for losers. I'm gonna win today, and I'm going around. I'm like, yeah. And I remember I ran a podcast, and I opened the podcast on that, and people were like, dude, you can't say that. That's too aggressive. And I'm like, Leonidas kicking people in a pit. I'm just all jazzed up, and I'm like, so I called my buddy, and I couldn't, like, from the first video, I couldn't think about it. I was driving home from Florida. My wife and I are on vacation. Yeah. I thought about the whole entire way. I was like, wait a minute, okay, so over 100% comp or more. Man, I'm getting like 48 right now. And then fast underwriting, simplified issue. I didn't know that was a thing,
So part of this, all you did was fully underwritten.
Fully underwritten, blood, urine, everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't know it existed. And then leads. I don't care what the product is. If somebody fills out a form of some kind of interest, and then you go to their kitchen table, how can you not sell something? Right. It can't be that bad. And so I'm like, and I'm started to make some money. I made 6 figures for the first time, scared to death because I know it's going to end. And I wasn't actively looking for anything, but I'm scared to absolute death. Yeah. And I didn't have a plan. Like I couldn't reason in my mind how to keep growing at what I was doing. Like I was tapped out, you know what I mean? Frustrated. And so I got home from that 7-hour trip, and I told my wife, I go, we're doing insurance. And she said, what? She goes, I've been trying to get you to do something different from 14 years. You didn't look at anything ever. And then just, that's it. Yeah. And so I called my buddy. I was like, hey, I'm getting licensed. And he goes, well, I'm not trying to recruit you. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. Right. And I said, I already bought the course. He's like, dude, they'll pay for your course. I was like, well, you didn't tell me. And then I was trying to get him to introduce me to the guy that's recruiting him, Jamie, who I didn't know. And so I had to stalk Jamie, like, hey, I'm joining your team.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, cool. And I remember calling him. I'm going, hey, I'm starting on May 1st. And he's like, okay. Yeah, like, whatever.
Whatever, dude. Yeah.
But in my mind, I've been around, you know what I mean? It's like when you start something, that first 90 days is vitally important.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just, like, even if you're part-time, you just want to, like, oh, I'm just going to make some calls and see how it goes. It's like, like, it's not going to go good. Right. You know what I mean? So, like.
Did you start May 1st?
May 1st. Like, that was the day.
This is 2022, right?
2021.
21. Were you in home or?
Yeah, in home.
Okay.
So I saw Zach Tradowski video, the whole 30-20-10 deal.
Okay.
Right? 30 appointments a week, sit on 20, sell on 10. I was like, that makes sense. Like, those numbers from everything I've ever done, that checks out.
Yeah.
Okay? I definitely can do that. And so I showed up because I wanted a clean start. So I had 2 corporate roles at my other gig, had my business. I made $120 that year. First time ever making 6 figures. We paid off all of our debt, and we saved 5 times more in 2020 than I made in 2019.
Wow.
So, like, I'm in a good spot, like I was the guy in the videos on the stage. They were running ads with my face, and I called him up and I said, I quit. I stepped down from it all and just dipped hard. And I showed up Monday to dial day. The goal is to make $600 or set 15 appointments. I did it. And the 30-20-10 thing, my first month worked out exactly.
Really?
Like, to the T.
Yeah.
And I was like, and we went all in right away. I mean, we were spending a ton of money on ads to recruit people.
Yeah.
Probably put 500 people in class our first 9 months.
Yeah.
Just it was insane.
And you, I'm looking at numbers here. 273.
Yep.
You sold your first year.
Yep.
Right. Year 2.
And that was like May to December.
May to December.
Yep.
Year 2, 314.
Yep.
And so far this year, you're at 304.
Yep.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Josh.
Yeah.
You're not on track for Hall of Fame. You're close.
Yeah.
Are you gonna hit Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yes. Why not? You've been here 3 years, so you don't have a red jacket yet.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Like, we got some good stuff in underwriting that are gonna drop. And we're on a good clip right now. But that's a whole other thing, right? Like, I haven't hit Hall of Fame. My 7 and 9 year old give me grief about it all the time.
Do they? Good.
Dude, yeah. Like, again, my household, they don't play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my wife is like, you had a bad day. Like, why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You were downstairs in a, air conditioned office.
Right.
You're not, like, when we were in home, dude, driving in Atlanta, I called Grady one day, and we're recruiting, going to home, like, doing the whole thing, right? Working literally some days where I would leave at 7 a.m. in the morning, drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to Atlanta, because based on traffic, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Like, almost get killed twice in the same day because of traffic, cars on fire, like, wild stuff. And then get home at like 11 o'clock at night. And that was 6 nights a week, And I remember calling Grady one day, and I'm pretty, like, low key normally, pretty chill. And I got like, dude,
really?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked out this morning, had some coffee, you know what I mean?
Like, are you messing with us?
Yeah. I'm normally,
you've been a lot of things since you've been here, Josh. Chill is definitely not what I would use
no,
to
I'm excited to
describe.
be here, man.
I love it. I'm cool, but I don't know.
I'm excited to be here. But yeah, normally I'm pretty. Most would say I'm pretty chill.
Okay.
And I called Grady. I'm like, dude, I am ready to freaking snap at everybody right now. Like, I get home and, like, the dog barks wrong, and I'm like, and it's like 10 pounds, and I'm like, what'd you say? And I was like, is that normal? And he's like, dude, there's more on the line. Yeah. More income, more expenses, more things. He's like, no, it's good. And he was right. Yeah. Like, after about a year, like, I got a little more handle on things, things calmed down, and then it kind of scared me a little bit, because there was a season where I was like, dude, nothing crazy's happening. Like, what's about to happen?
Dude, honestly, when you've gone through so much shit, and when you finally get to that point where things are going, it is weird. It's almost like, it's not supposed to be this way. Dude, I'm not used to this.
Yeah. That like, when it was going good, I'm like, now it's scary.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen now? And it's this weird balance. We all try to get better. We all have our things. Like, I don't have it remotely figured out. Some days I do and some days I don't.
Yeah.
But it's just like this weird balance between, selling and then running the agency and then, trying to think you're a fancy business person. And it's like, nope. Like just keep main thing, that kind of thing. So, just trying not to get too off kilter.
Yeah.
And what happens, I think, for a lot of people and some of those numbers, why I haven't hit Hall of Fame, is 100% no excuses. I think a lot of times in the early part of the year, you're like, I'm gonna do this with the agency, and it's easy to get like focused on all these other things, and then the year gets away from you, and you're like, oh crap, and you're scrambling. So but like I said earlier,
well, you got time, dude. You got a couple months.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're locked in now. But I will say, like, my worst day in FFL is better than any of my best days anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I believe it with what you've told me so far.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, like, I have kids. I got 4 kids, wife. My wife stays at home. She stayed at home since we had our first child.
Yep.
Wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you tell these stories. I'm like, dude, I've been there. But, like, just real quick, when you're at your worst, right, you're out there, you're working your ass off, or at least you think you are.
Yeah.
You got no money coming in, 2 kids at home and a wife. What does that feel like?
Dude, it just immense weight and pressure all the time, because you're like in the back of your head, you're like, I got this bill, I got that bill.
Yeah.
Like, I might not make it. What's going to happen? And like, you're out with your kids at the pumpkin patch or whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't go out to eat.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, is that free?
Yeah.
Doing all the free things. Like my kids,
Correct.
and good thing they were that young.
Yes.
Because they think it's like, oh, this is fun.
Right.
So like my wife, dude, she can just magically stretch $1 into.
You get creative, dude, when you have to.
Bro, she's incredible. Like she did the whole thing where she would get free stuff on Facebook and then flip it for a profit.
Yeah.
Just to make ends meet. And so, my kids think it was awesome. Like she would get Christmas presents and individually take everything apart and wrap it to make it seem like it was a bunch of stuff. And so you're out with your family trying to enjoy family time, and you're just like, oh man, I got like this thing's gonna happen, that thing's gonna happen, like we're not gonna make it, like. And every month you're like, oh, we paid our bills. Oh, thank God. You know what I mean? And that never goes away.
No.
And it's always there. The weight on your chest is always there. And most days, like the only thing I was like, it's like you have your like inner thoughts and whatever, and then like that's over here on the left-hand side, and you can just like physically grab your body and just say, sit down and dial. Like, I don't know what else to do, just sit down and dial. At least you can trick yourself into thinking, well, maybe the next one is going to result in something.
What about now? What's that feeling like now?
So, I had a buddy one time. So when I was making 19 grand, he was making 800. And he was like, dude, he's like, I still got money problems, like stuff.
Right.
And I was like, for real though?
Yep.
So like the thing is gone where I'm not worried about like paying the bills necessarily.
Right.
But like there's expenses. And so you're like, and I've done that too, where I've like, I've gone out and, spent a bunch of money on, this recruiting campaign or that thing, or hired somebody that didn't work out, like an employee or whatever. And I was like, dude, that was stupid. Wasted money on that. So like that still happens, but like that just existential dread is mostly gone. And I think that can play tricks on you too, that when the good times come, because like, look, if you're a salesperson, I don't care. You have an ego.
Yeah.
Like you have to have an ego.
Right.
And it plays tricks on you. I remember in the home, I went through this 2-week streak. I didn't get no one told me no. And
it's
one
one of the worst things that can happen
to
you.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, put him in front of me. I'm going to close him.
Yep.
Now, luckily I've been around enough. All of a sudden I started getting a bunch of no's.
Yep.
And then I quickly realized, I'm like, oh dude, there's the ego.
Yep.
You
start skipping
you
small
kept to
things.
yes.
Yep.
You have your word tracks and your process,
Yep.
and all of a sudden you're getting loose.
Yep. Taking
You're
shortcuts.
saying some wild stuff
Yep.
at the table. You know what I mean? And then that
all of a sudden you're not even going over budget. I just know it's going to be $200 a month, and they have panic attack.
Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly. And you're getting so here we go. Like, so I remember specifically when I was in the home, I got this sign on my wall in my office that says, "People don't think, People don't read. People don't listen. Help them anyway. Okay. And if you're like, oh, that's such a mean thing. But like, you ever been talking? I remember I was in this guy's house, and people used to talk about this all the time in the home, like where you sit and position and all this stuff. So if I sit across from you, I'm looking at you, and we'd used to say something like, "Hey, Mike, we're gonna apply. Here's the kind of the process. They're gonna have your driver's license, your bank account. Like we'd go through. Here's what we're gonna do today." Yeah. And I made sure we're making eye contact when I say it, because I was in this house, and the guy, I'm sitting looking at the TV. TV's going. Wife's sitting next to me looking at the TV. Husband's on the far side looking at her. We go through the whole thing. I say everything I'm supposed to say. They agree to it all. Everything's going super well. We get to the end. I'm not giving you my bank account. And I don't get the sale. And I'm thinking, I was like, what happened? I goes, that guy wasn't listening to a dang word I said. Right. You know what I mean? So you got to make sure. And I'd missed that step because I was just so overconfident. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We got some fun stuff. Well, I think it's fun. We have a little segment we call Fact or Fiction. I'm going to throw some statements at you. You're going to let me know if they're fact or fiction in your opinion.
Okay.
And we'll talk about a few of them when we wrap up. So here's one. Life insurance only benefits people after they die.
Oh, fiction.
Fiction. You have to be wealthy to afford life insurance.
Fiction.
You should lead with fully underwritten products.
Fiction.
Once you're approved, your premium will never change.
Once you're approved,
with us.
Well, yeah, fact.
Life insurance is only for people with dependents.
Oh, fiction.
And last one, selling life insurance without leads is like running through traffic blindfolded.
Fact.
So I want to talk about that one because we touched on it a little bit before.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean, talking about funny things Sean says in videos, he said this for years. If you work at and I second this, I support it. If you work at a company selling life insurance and you don't have leads, quit.
Yeah.
You should quit.
Yeah.
You should join us or someone else who has leads, but quit. You should join us. I mean, I'm saying that because I'm biased. But, what you mentioned this earlier. People that work here now, I think, are spoiled.
Oh,
not in a bad way.
Lead snobs, automation snobs. Sure. You know what I mean? Like one of the things. So a shift over a mental shift everybody's had over the last few years is we're all getting into telesales and IULs and all these fancy insurance agent things. We're all guilty of it. You know what I mean? Oh, auto set appointments and we'll have everybody will have their own lead campaign. And I do my own leads and all this stuff. When it doesn't work, you blame it on all this stuff, right? But if it's like, hey, dude, you need to work hard, right? You need to pay attention. You need to call your client. And like that was the aura when I got into FFL was like, it's going to be hard, probably harder than you ever done.
Right.
But it'll be worth it, and we grind here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you want the work-life balance company, go over there.
Sure.
Right? If you want the We Win company, and I was like, that's what I wanted, because I was like, I don't want to make new friends. I just want to freaking take care of my family.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so having leads, if you don't have leads, you spend 80% of your day trying to prospect to get somebody to listen to you.
Right.
And 20% of your day actually talking to clients, potential clients. Now you spend 80% of your day talking to people who in some level want to talk to you. Now, I would contend that one of the best things that FFL ever did was embrace internet leads.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I think that is I remember early on, I recruited a lady who was with a different company. They only did mail mortgage, which mail mortgage was fantastic. But she said, I don't recruit people because if I recruit somebody, now they're taking my territory, my leads. And so embracing something that, yeah, maybe it's not like the tier one, you call up and they sign up every time, but it allows a guy like me or anybody else that's just willing to burn up the phone and there's enough of them to go around.
Right. Let's talk numbers then. So these are your numbers. So you go, well, I cold call and I do great. Well, that's awesome for you. We're talking about Josh's numbers here.
Yeah.
When you were cold calling, if you talked to 100 people, got them on the phone, how many did you set an appointment with? Cold calling.
So, well, I was calling, at that time, I was calling 50 a day.
Okay, 50 a day.
50 cold calls. So I had to go research the list.
50 contacts or 50 just?
50 contacts.
Okay.
So when I was cold calling, it was to companies.
Yeah.
So I would go on different research portals, and I would have to find the companies that I wanted to talk to, like my market.
Okay.
So I got to spend a portion of my day putting together the list.
All right. So how much time did it take you to get those 50?
3-4 hours.
All right. So you're starting your day, 3-4 hours of research off the bat.
Yeah.
Just for one day.
Yeah.
From there, you find 50 potential contacts.
Yeah, and you'd have to put together like 150 because it's like 50 this day, a new 50 tomorrow. Then we recycle them. I got to plan out my week.
So 3-4 hours of work. You find 50. You get 50 on the phone.
No. You call 50.
You call 50. How many
you're gonna get
those 50?
You'll get 6 to 8, 10 to 12 on the phone.
All right.
And
let's say 10. So you call 50, you get 10 on the phone. How many are you going to meet
on
with?
A good day, you'll set 6 appointments.
Okay.
4 to 6 appointments. And then, probably
So
one if you're lucky.
One if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
And that's a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So in that world, right, like that's business to business. So it's like I meet you today and they're like, "Oh yeah, sounds good. Talk to Sally, our HR lady." And you, "Okay, Sally." And she goes, "Oh yeah, we don't have any enrollment slots for 3 months." It's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So, or even if it's like I cold call for insurance. And so, or the PNC world, right? All the mortgage guys went out of business. So I would take a street, a neighborhood.
Yeah.
I would mail them all like a soft quote, like mail it.
Yeah.
And then I call it, "Hey, Mike, Josh over here at the insurance agency. I sent you that quote. What'd you like best about it?" And I'd make 50 of those a night with the hopes that about the same numbers, dismal numbers, that, over the next 1 or 2 months, somebody would say yes.
Somebody.
Dude, it was.
Yeah. So now so we're talking 3-4 hours of research. Boom. You end up contacting 50.
Yeah.
You end up setting, let's say, 5 or 6 appointments.
Yeah.
And you maybe make one sale.
Yeah.
And that's all in a day, a week?
Yeah. Yeah, if you do that, so like you might have at the end of the week 5 hopes, but then now you got to drive to them.
Right.
So like one day, like 2 days of the week, you're just driving to appointments. So you can't, like, who's going to make the list and call the list?
Exactly.
So
let's talk about, let's fast forward here. Now you got leads.
Yeah.
Obviously you got to pay for leads, right?
Yep.
So like let's be straight up. How much would you spend on leads in a week right now?
So it really hasn't changed. I spend probably a little bit more now. From day one, I spent about $2,000 a week.
$2,000 a week.
Now,
how many leads that get you?
When I started, it would get me 230 to 260. Okay. Now a little bit more expensive. We're doing about let's say $20 a lead. Yeah. Whatever that works out to be.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
100 leads or so.
Yeah. 150 leads.
Yeah.
And so, most weeks on Telesales, I have 12 to 15 appointments a day.
Got it.
And so
you get let's say 200 leads.
Yeah.
You get 10 to 15 appointments a day off of that batch.
Yeah.
Let's call it 10, the low day. You talk to 10, you have 10 appointments. How many show up?
So 10 to 12 appointments. We try our darndest to keep a 50, because I run appointments. I don't do the one call close thing.
Okay.
I like to compartmentalize my day. Sure. I can't multitask. Right. So the thing where you're dial, take this call, I can't do that.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
So you're setting actual appointments.
Actual appointments, so that
half
way.
Half of them show up?
If I can keep 50% show rate, we crush. 1 to 2 apps a day.
You talk to 5 people today. How many are you going to sell? 2. Yeah. Minimally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So 2 times 5, 10.
Yeah.
We're talking minimum numbers.
That's a cake schedule.
Right.
That's a cake schedule. I have a walking pad with a standing desk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not driving anywhere.
And the only difference is the $2,000 you spent on the leads.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's a lot of money. Yeah. You don't have to spend that your first day. You buy whatever you want. But once you have those leads, now you have 200 opportunities of people, here's the key, that are interested.
Yeah.
You're calling 50 people that you're trying to find someone that fits your, demographic, they have no interest. Even the guy you sent the quote to, like, what'd you like about the quote? I get those calls like nothing because I didn't read it because I didn't ask for anything.
Exactly.
I'm the worst one because I've been in this business for so long. I'm like, dude, if I didn't ask you for anything, screw you. Mm-hmm. But our clients are people that are asking for help. So it's like, I work at, keep doing it. Or you should just quit. That's, our take on that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Ask the expert. So we got to rename this, Precious. I don't like expert. I don't know. I just don't like that word. But anyways, you guys can cut that out after or not. Ask the expert. So I have some questions for you. how do you prepare new agents for lead purchasing when they have a low budget?
It's tough.
Yeah.
Okay, it's tough. I think no, you don't do a service to anybody by sugarcoating it.
Sure.
Right. If they have a low budget, it kind of like we talked about earlier. I'm like, dude, this is going to be really freaking hard. I was talking to a 19-year-old kid, new to the industry, new to sales, and he spent $300 on some like aged leads, aged digital leads, and he's like, well, like here's what I told him. I tell any new agent, if you don't have money or experience, go buy the old garbage, what you would consider the old garbage stuff. You're going to get all the things. Like, you have to get good. And so here's what I told him. I was like, you got any money in the bank? And he did. He's like, I live at home. I got $7,000. I was like, good, don't touch it. Because what happens is you want to get fancy and you want to like run a system like I do, where I have like leads and automations and all these things, because like I had to get there over time.
Yeah.
And you're gonna end up broke living at home.
Correct.
So go get your face kicked in on those leads. It took him 2 weeks to make one sale, but it's one.
Hey.
Made his money back. I was like, now go get the same leads.
Right.
And see if you can make a sale in 1 week. I was like, you're gonna be tempted. You're gonna want to jump the gun. Don't do it. Like, listen to me. Don't do it. Just keep on the old leads. And then once you do, then buy a few more of those. Then, get Power Dialer, and then sell 2 in a week. And then just slowly graduate up to the new ones.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen by the time you get the new ones, you're going to be like, this is so flippin' easy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you've gone through it. I think so many people, they come in and they want to get the shiniest tools and the fastest stuff. And then when it doesn't work, they blame all the stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, go old, get gritty, like, take your licks, get hung up on, I didn't fill this out, go,
It's like
what
the
your
Glengarry
stuff,
leads. I give them to you, but you wouldn't even know what to do with them.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is something to that. You should earn the right,
I won't tell the whole story, because we're in the presence of fancy people here.
Yeah.
But one of the, when I was pretty new, Jamie Cheerio, my buddy, man, so he calls this lead on live dials in front of 30 people.
Yeah.
Okay. Calls this lead, and the words that this guy called this man, I cannot repeat. I'll tell you afterwards. Okay. This guy starts screaming at Jamie at the top of his lungs. Everybody, you see 30 faces put their stuff down, and all the eyeballs just go. And this guy, no matter what Jamie said, he got louder and started swearing at him even more, calling him horrible names that you wouldn't repeat to your wife.
Right.
And no matter what he said, he's just like, I don't care what you say, you blankety, blankety, blank, blank. And this goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes. He got cussed down, up, down, left, right, and backwards. And he hangs up on him. So then he ends up texting him a picture of the lead card. And the guy calls him back and goes, I'm so sorry. I thought you were the water filter guy.
Oh, God.
He goes over to the guy's house and sells one of the biggest policies he's ever sold.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's like that.
Yeah.
So, like when you go to triple dial and do all the things that we said, I remember I called Sally. She goes, what? I goes, Sally. She goes, yeah. I was like, hey. And then by the end of the call, she cools off. I go to Sally's house. She's a complete sweetheart. One of my best clients, been a client for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. One more here. Let's see. What are your top tips for agents to stand out in a competitive market like IULs?
Ooh, okay. So first thing I'll say about IULs, we want to gravitate towards what we get told is easy. They go, oh yeah, IULs have good persistency. Part of that, it takes longer to sell them.
Yep.
Right? Like a final expense policy, hey, you want the 10, the 20, or 30, we're done.
Sure.
That, it's like maybe we're max funding, we're doing a fact finder, you have to do a phone interview. So you'll lose more people on the front end that don't make it through underwriting or don't fund it. So you're still going to deal with that 30% loss, okay?
Right.
So you have to, I can't tell you how many clients that go, no one's ever taken me time to show me an illustration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they called me up and they said, oh yeah, we'll get you the big policy and then we're in. That's number one. Number two, me and my Jamie, again, last year we were really wanting to focus on persistency. I've made my persistency go up 10 points in the past year. Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
And one of the things is we said, how do we affect persistency, especially in telesales? It's converting the think about it. Because, I mean, in the home, it's like, you know, either you buy or we're not leaving as friends, right? Like we didn't say that, but like that was kind of the deal. But when somebody says, hey, I want to think about it, now you have to follow up. And we're salespeople, we're terrible at it. And so if you actually communicate with your prospective client or client after the sale and do that, you know, I can't tell you how many times you heard you talk to a client back in the home, doesn't matter, and they bought a policy, and you go, what was it? I don't know.
Oh, every time.
What company is it with? I don't know.
Yep.
Is it in your email? I don't know.
Yep.
We don't know anything.
No.
So we created automations and systems and procedures that after that phone call, anybody that works with us, no one's ever going to say, my agent doesn't talk to me.
Right.
And seeing that, what we found is more people come back and buy. And if you convert to think about it, those are the ones, like if they actually think about it, it was so difficult for them to get through the buying process, they're not going to do it again.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I always looked at it like this, but I mean, and I never sold telesales, never sold virtual, but like kind of like the rule of thirds. If I meet with 12 people, 3 or 4 of them are going to do it.
Yep.
Like no effort. You know, it's like we used to say they had the voided check taped to their forehead almost,
That's
right?
it.
3 or 4 are just not going to do it. There's nothing I could say in that appointment to get them to buy that policy. But to your point, where you make your money, where you go from being, you know, average, below average to good or great is converting that 3 or 4 that are on the fence. And those are the think about. It's the ones that you can't just go in and go, here's how much it costs. You want it? No.
Dude, I'll tell you this. So one of our guys, Quentin Kelly, solid dude. So, you know, we have like a series of like text and postcards we send clients. So this client hits him up and goes, hey, I'm licensed and I got 3 people. We want to work with you. He's like, what? So what happened was there was another friends and family company, and she was going to look to get in the industry, and she calls the friends and family company, and she goes, hey, do you guys pay renewals? No, we only sell term. We don't pay renewals. Okay. Do you guys have leads? No. We don't need leads. We talk to friends and family. She's like, I don't want to talk to my friends and family. She goes, well, what do you guys do for like what's your system for dealing with clients? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we don't have enough clients to deal with.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, my agent sends me texts and postcards on my birthday and this and that, and checking with me about my policy and da. She goes, hey, guys, we're going with Quentin.
Yeah.
So we recruited 4 people because we just followed up. Imagine that.
That's huge. That's huge, too. Well, bro, this has been great. I feel like if I keep asking you questions, we'll be here till, you know, you'll miss your flight, which I don't want. You got to get back to your wife and kids. But we talked about IULs, talked about leads. There's also a lot of agents that are generating leads on their own.
Yep.
So we had Juan Franco up here a few weeks back. Yep. And so I encourage you, Josh, if you haven't seen it already, and everybody else watching, check out his podcast where he talks about going viral at 61 on TikTok.
Juan's a gangster.
Yeah. Not to be TikTok famous, but to generate leads, and he's got a whole strategy. And Juan's been, as I said when he was here, has been selling IUL since before they were cool, back when, you know, Sean would yell at him for selling IULs.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming up doing this. I really do. You said it here on True Talk. You're going to hit Hall of Fame this year.
That's
so
it.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay.
So hopefully I'm handing you a jacket in, January, February.
40 regular.
There you go. 40. All right, let's get it. Guys, go register if you've not yet already, FFLconvention.com. You can get your room at the Westin right now. We got a special room block, save you about $400 or $500 through the course of the week. So go do that through our website before that is up. But thanks again, Josh, for coming out. Guys, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with your agents. You know where to find us every week right here on True Talk. We'll see you next week.